All right, welcome back. We are on XTSR Towson Student Radio, and this is Visionary Collectives. And I am your host, Jalen, and today we have a very special guest. Hey, we got a leader on the campus, man, a great leader on the campus, Alexander Burke.
What's up? How you doing today, man?
How are you doing today, man?
Dude, I'm vibing. We had a nice little conversation to start it off. Got a little wet walking over here, but I'm feeling good. Had a nice morning workout. I'm ready to go.
Okay. So, that's actually start from, your early morning grind. So you're in the gym, right?
Yeah.
So you're working out, and what's next? Like, what's next in your plan, like in your schedule?
Yeah. So today is a little different. So I worked out, got like a little bit of work done, and I actually went to go get a haircut, and I got stuck in traffic, so it took me a little bit longer. But before that, like usually I try to wake up around 6:30. I just try to like tack it on for my summer job. So wake up around then, and then work out 6 to 7:30, get some food, and then from there is either class or straight to homework or straight to some sort of work I'm working on. But I switched it, actually, funny enough, this week.
Really?
So I saw this video, and this guy was kind of just talking about how he talks about it's like the ability to do work over a long period of time, like 6 to 8 hours, like to get in like a deep work state. So I've been testing this thing out. I literally just started a few days ago, where when I wake up, I go like straight into work by like 6:30, and then try to work and do what I'm working on until like 12:30, and then go to the gym. And I think I'm actually gonna like that more, because when I wake up, I'm energetic.
Yeah.
And bro, I decline quickly the day. You know, like when you're in your classes and you're like, I'm dozing off. So it's kind of nice. I'm refreshed, get that in, and I go get a lift. I can get some Chipotle gains after, and then we're back to work or school. So I think I'm trying that, but I think I'm gonna like it a lot.
Okay.
A little morning routine.
So you workflow heavy. Heavy. Okay.
Yeah. I try to optimize for like efficiency. You know what I mean?
Okay. And so talking about work, so investment banking, that's what you're really interested in right now.
Yeah.
So can you tell the audience right out here, how did you get into this profession, or just how did you figure out choosing this major?
Yeah. So initially, I'm a finance major. I'm just a finance major, business analytics minor, so a little bit of tech. Initially, right, coming into college, I didn't know what I want to do, as most people do, right? But I've always liked to just learn, and I like a challenge, right? So when you look at your items, you got STEM, but as far as like engineering and stuff like that, and I could be wrong on this, but to me at the time, it felt like, okay, this is going to be a lot of desk work or a lot of technical. It's heavy mathematics, heavy STEM, right?
Right.
And I didn't really want super technical. I still wanted technical, but I wanted also a social aspect to it. So that was kind of out of the picture. Lawyers seemed cool. I just didn't want to have to pay for law school, right? So that was the other picture. Doctor, way too much school for me. In a row, right? I mean, and I love talking to people in that field, because I think biology and chemistry is so interesting. It just wasn't for me. So I was like, well, everyone needs money, right? Like, we need money for everything. So, all right, I'm gonna go business. I'm gonna go finance, and then from there. And I also liked it because you need a little bit of technical skills for finance, but it's also very social, right? And kind of what we were talking about before, like you need some networking skills too, making business deals, stuff like that. So started off with that, and then from there to investment banking, I'm trying to remember. I started off with a corporate finance internship. So I was working for a company who did a lot of recruiting heavy, but I was in the back office, right? So I'm working like the accounting and stuff like that, and it was good. It was a great company, but I didn't feel like I was being pushed, right? And I feel like there's some roles for me where maybe it's just because you're the intern, right? So they have you doing probably the more like the less meaningful work, or even if they do, it's very like straightforward. I didn't feel like my mind was having to think by itself, right? It was just, here's this task, here's this task, here's this task. And I felt like I was kind of missing something as far as like jobs in finance. And that's when I kind of found out about investment banking, which kind of goes hand in hand with private equity as well, right? So investment banking is basically you're the middleman, and you help buy and sell large companies, like million dollar companies, right? So like people you might know are like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, stuff like that. But there's multiple banks. They range from working with businesses that are like 10 million to over $1 billion, right? And that sounded interesting to me. They said when you start that job, it's like drinking up a fire hose. And I was like, perfect. You know what I mean? I was like, I can learn a lot from this.
But being the middleman, okay, so tell me kind of like what would be a hardship, you know?
Yeah. So like, so I can, like hardship as far as like, just kind of me and my experience with it.
Sure.
Or, okay, yeah. So, right, being the middleman, right, your job is basically, let's say like you're a business owner,
right.
You come to me, you're like, hey, like, I've been working in this business for 10 years, like, I've been grinding, I think it's worth around $50 million, I really just want to sell and like go to Cancun and chill in my beach house, right?
Okay.
Right? You're like that, and we're like, all right, cool. We need all like your information, right, and we're gonna go through, we're gonna compile it, and what we're going to do from there is we're going to make a valuation. So we're going to say, here, this is what the company valuation looks like, and that's just the basis, right? But basically what we do is we take your company, we value it to what we think the market would pay for it, but then we also have to go out with your company and talk to buyers. So let's say you have like a skateboarding company, right? I have to make a whole list of people who I think could be potential buyers for your company, go out to them, and it's done in it's very simplified. You go out to them, you find a good one, you sell it, right? But obviously there's a few more steps that go in between that, but that's essentially the gist of it. And some challenges that I found in there is that going in, I kind of knew usually it's high expectations as far as like your work product and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I didn't really understand. I had never been in it, right? So I didn't really know. So I remember I was doing a SIM, right, which is this confidential information memorandum. All it is if I'm selling your skateboard company, I'm not going to say like, yo, like Jalen's skateboard company is for sale, right? Because you might have competitors, you might have other people like looking around. Oh, now they can see all your numbers. You know what I mean? Like that's not cool. You're not keeping it confidential. So
it's basically about confidentiality.
Right, that's one part of it. Right, so after you get your buyers and you go through the initial process and you figure out who's interested, they sign like a confidentiality form.
Gotcha.
And then they get access to the SIM, which is essentially, they call it a memorandum. It's really a PowerPoint or a slide deck of everything about your business. So we make those, right? So it's displaying your business. Hey, look at this, right? He's grown like 20% year over year, stuff like that.
Okay.
We compile the whole thing. It can be anywhere from like 40 pages to like 150 pages.
Got you.
And I was working on some industry slides, and I was like, all right, I think I'm doing a good job. Came to my analyst associate, and we talked over it, and they're great guys. Like my experience was awesome with the team. And they're like giving me comments. I'm like, dang, you know what I mean? I'm like, bro, what? I'm like, all right, like, and everything you're saying makes sense. I'm like, I thought I cooked. Like, I did not cook that well, right? Man? Yeah, I didn't cook that well. And of course, it's a part of the learning curve, right? Getting used to it. But that was the first time I felt like that in any job opportunity. I felt it like once in sales, but in an internship, like that was the first time I kind of felt that, and I honestly liked it, right? Because it's like it sucks, but no, like you're getting better, right? You don't want to be in a place where like you're in an internship. Oh, good job, right? And they're not helping you out, right? Or you're not learning. But
you need that feedback. What's the word? It's like a saying for that.
It's not a feedback loop. It's like I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we're lost for words.
Constructive, constructive criticism.
Yeah, it could be exactly like constructive criticism, right? But I feel like a lot of the times, and maybe like they can relate or you can relate. Like they just say you're doing a good job, right? Or they tell you to fix one or two things. But I felt like I was really being pushed, right? And I learned a lot of skills from it, and I like that feeling. Okay. Which is kind of what was a challenge, but I think it's also why I like this kind of finance career and stuff like that.
So you're all about building, man. So especially building. You talk about the Towson M&A Society.
Yeah.
So run us a little bit through that. How did you coordinate that? I guess it's mostly like a society basically on campus.
Yeah. So. Right, I co-founded the M&A Society with Andrew Poland, which I know was on here earlier, and then we also had Brandon, which is probably going to be the future president of TUIG.
Okay.
Brandon Arnold, great guy. So the initial thing with that, so me and Andrew were going through investment banking, or trying to find and get into investment banking, which isn't the easiest field to get into. It's pretty competitive, and we were trying to figure out what the heck to do. You know what I mean? Like anything new, we really didn't have any idea to do it, and like we had people who we were able to talk to who kind of helped us along the way.
Yeah.
But it was like walking through quicksand, or not quicksand, but like the mud, right? Like you're
in the trenches.
Yeah, you're in the trenches. And I was like, yo, this was whack. You know what I mean? Like, no, like before that, no teachers had told us about the field or even like or similar fields in that industry. Honestly, and this kind of all goes back to the networking we were talking about. Like, no one really taught us how to network or in any of my classes. And I look back on the experience, like we learned a lot. We also failed a lot to learn a lot. We're like, dude, we can definitely piece together something which is in alignment with the TUIG, so Towson University Investment Group,
Fair enough.
to help people who are just interested in a path like this, right? Because it's not really advertised to school, right? It's not like your financial planners or like corporate finance or stuff like that. So we saw it as an opportunity to just kind of help the student body and teach them something that, hey, we wish we had someone like this that would teach us, that would save us a lot of time and failure.
And so you're telling me there's nobody, I guess, especially for the Towson campus, there's nobody that really was the leader for y'all to share their experiences on networking and kind of guide you.
No. There's a few like alumni, I think 1 or 2 that went to the school that helped me out a bit. Me and him, because we have very similar as far as mentors go.
Okay.
Adjunct professor last semester, or I think it was the semester before last, called Taimak Kazmir.
I've heard of this.
He's in his MBA. Go. I had to call him earlier this week. He's awesome.
Okay.
And he wasn't in banking, but he was able to he gave me my first connection or two, which just kind of helped me familiarize myself with the industry, right? Because whatever you want to go into it, whether it be like banking or finance or anything, you want to familiarize yourself with the industry, right? What do I need to do as a college student to get in here? What are these businesses I like? Which ones do I not like? You know what I mean? Just getting familiar. And he helped me do that a lot. So that was the only, but as far as like teachers, like teaching like BizX, which you would think that's where you would learn stuff, nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I guess what would be your 4 main advice to like anybody out there, any students, on how to like network and build your brand?
Yeah. So I'm making this funny because I'm making this I'm making like a PDF that I'm gonna ship out probably soon. It's not like I'm not charging, but it's just like because it's just information that's valuable.
For sure.
But right, 4 things to build your network and build your brand.
3, 2, it don't matter.
Yeah. Okay. If you're, I guess I'll do a few for business majors. These actually apply to most majors, so we'll just say this. First of all, if you're in like most majors, get a LinkedIn, right? So you want to make sure you open up a LinkedIn. It's basically just a social media site for professionals, right? And you want to do this so you're just out there, right? Now, once you have a LinkedIn, networking is literally just, and the cool thing about LinkedIn is you can search up roles. You can search up companies. You can go to like Amazon and go through everyone who works at Amazon. And if you see a role you like, click on their name and message them, right? So let's say you're confused, you don't know what you want to do as far as like your major in your major. Go to LinkedIn. This company is cool, and just start scrolling. You see someone you like, you click on their profile and you shoot them a message, right? So my tip number 1 would be get LinkedIn.
Okay.
Tip number 2 would be to reach out to people on LinkedIn and try to get them on a phone call, right? You get them on a phone call, you just kind of talk it up, have some questions written down, stuff like that, and you'll learn a lot in that 30 minutes about the industry. What do you do on a day-to-day, right? You're talking with someone who's in the industry. So 2 would be kind of reach out to people. 3 would definitely be to have like review your resume and make sure that's on point, right?
So would it be like, would you want another person to review as well, like an administrator or a peer?
So peer? Anyone is fine, right? But so you want to make sure you review it a few times, and then you want to have someone else review just to get a fresh set of eyes. So the one thing I guess I'd say for resumes is you want like quantifiable numbers. So like for example, you have this on your resume, interviewed like 9 podcast guests, right? Like organize a podcast for the last like 52 weeks, or you know what I mean, stuff like that, or just and it can be anything, right? You could be at McDonald's, like I don't know, like like place 50 orders a day, 50 McDoubles, you know what I'm saying? But just anything that's quantifiable, right? Because it makes it sound a little bit better than place a lot of McDouble orders. Like there's something to grasp there, right? But now I think networking is key. I think the other thing and the last thing would be with that is, I guess the 4th one would be like to combine all that and understanding that. I mean, I guess I would say like story time, but I'll loop it back. Is I'm a senior now, but my sophomore summer, first trying to get into banking, I had like a list, like an Excel sheet.
Okay.
And I probably applied to like 30, 40 jobs online. I got hardly anything back.
Why do you think that was? No, let's break that down.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
I think it was a mix of my resume, which it depends on your field, but I do think that some of the stuff in class probably isn't as it should be in the professional world. And that can also be changed, right? Because it's also to do with like maybe the computers, right? Like if you have a computer scanning your resume, it might need to be formatted a certain way. But I think it was because of that, and I think because I just didn't know the game, right? So it might be a little bit different for a STEM field like comp sci, like, all right, you're C++ certified, you're JavaScript certified, you worked at Amazon, like, come over here, you know what I mean? But I think especially when we're talking about liberal arts, business, and even it even applies to STEM fields, right? Because STEM fields like tech is very wide. Like this is definitely valid for almost any field, right?
Sure.
You want to understand the company. So I guess all right. So that's why. So I think my resume wasn't formatted as well as it could have been. But honestly, I think the only thing was that I didn't network. I really think that you can get a job. You can get in the door off of networking. You might not get the job, but you'll get to the first interview. And that's like what I found a lot is that I took that like 40 applications, nothing. And then I was able to kind of learn slowly like how to network. And through the first three things I said, right, get a LinkedIn, see if you can fix up your resume a little bit. And then the third one being get a LinkedIn, fix up your resume, and outreach to people, right? So I started doing those. I fixed up my resume. I had it on my LinkedIn, and I started outreaching to people. And from there, what you'll see and what I've been seeing, right, as I've gone through like looking for full-time jobs and stuff like that, is your network is your net worth is cheesy, but it's kind of close to what it is, right? I have gotten like interview opportunities just off of a network. And I think that, and then they say, hey, go fill out the application. I'll put your name through the HR.
Crazy.
Right? So it's like, all right, well, like now it makes sense, right? Because I'm applying, and most of the jobs now, it's got like 500 applicants, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a person and you are looking at a crowd of like 2,000 people and they're all yelling at you to pick me, you're going to pick your boy, right? You're going to pick your boy, your maybe your crush, somebody who looks cute or something.
All right.
And then your family, friends. That's who's getting in, right? So think of that in terms of a recruiter and applicants. If I'm a recruiter and I've talked to recruiters, I don't know if this is how you think, but if I'm just thinking through it and why people and probably like just have problems with just random just cold applying. There's just too many people out there, right? All looking for the same job. And plus we go to Towson, right? So then on top of all this, you have the school, which holds no recognition, right? Compared to, you got UMD. All right, yeah.
If you got UMD in your platform, it's like...
Yeah. Like, I'll throw you an interview, but that takes us out, right? So if you're looking, you want to basically build the connection where the recruiter looks into the crowd, you're one of the people they go, oh, I remember talking to you. Sure, you can get an interview. Now, once you get in the door then it's up to you. I say once you're in the door, it's a level playing field, right? Who can hoop the best? Like who's got the best skills, right? But I guess if we're talking hoop analogy, right? Getting on the court, getting picked on the team, I think it just comes down to networking, and the rest will fall into place, and you just have to be prepared. So those would be kind of my three things, and then take all three of those and apply those to go out and build a connection and network. Got you.
Hey, man, visionaries out there, hey, you're hearing it right here, man. They give you the game. So
I'm trying.
So let's get it a little bit juicy, man. So I know you're currently working at S.C.E, correct?
Yeah,
S.C.E.
Yep, S.C.E partners. Yep.
So talking about getting your foot in the door, how did you kind of get your foot in the door with them?
Yeah, so that was a connection from last year or like a year and a half ago. It actually might be, yeah. So with him, when I was trying to get into banking, I talked to, and I was a little bit late to the game. I talked to over or I message, not talk to. 'Cause
Message.
if you do this, you're gonna get a lot of people who don't answer you. But I talked to I messaged over like 600 people.
Jeez.
And one thing is, the people who do respond, they responded, right? Like,
yeah.
appreciate them going out their time. They don't have to respond to you.
For sure.
But I kept the network, and it was a guy called Douglas, and kept the network, and I ended up just circling back. I guess the connection between, right, when we're talking about that and AI, which is why I think it's here to stay. I know we've had a little bit like an AI craze in general, right? Like, if you might not follow the market, but like company valuations in the AI space have been going up. They've been up a lot. They're coming back down a little bit. But I think overall, like, that and AI is definitely here to stay.
So do you feel like people should, start getting into AI a little bit more?
Yeah.
Even if they're like, let's say, a finance major or accounting. Or...
Yeah. I think it's good to understand. I'm going to be honest. I've used a lot of it in my work because right now, my job, like working with companies and trying to familiarize myself with the industry, like I use it to explain I use it to explain quantum computing to myself, right? So
quantum, that's like the what dimension is that?
Oof, that might be, I don't know.
Quantum? 6.
Quantum is, I guess, 4, like
4.
Quattro. So I guess that'd be 4th dimension. The concept is like, it's just like computers. Like computers, computers reading ones and zeros. And I guess the point of quantum is you can have something that can have a 1 and a 0 in the same slot at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's a weird concept, but
I don't know. I'll leave that to you. Computer science.
yeah, exactly. All right, I'm just a business guy in the middle, right? Some comp sci guys laughing at me, but basically, yeah. So I use it a lot. I think it has a good use to it. And the teachers always say, like, don't use it in class, like stuff like that, like they know, and I understand where that's coming from because there's a good and a bad side to it, right? Like, I use it a lot, but I always joke with my roommate, which is like, if this had come along like any earlier, like our generation could have been cooked, right? Because you still need to. It's still good for you to know and understand the fundamental things, right? Like, and so this is an example. Is like, I would use it. Okay, I write my essay. Hey, like, how do I make this sound better, right? Or I want to add this type of element. How do I do that? But write the base essay, because you don't want to be someone where you don't have any of the skills. Like, you don't want GPT to type the whole thing up,
right?
Because you still need to build the base skills, and then you can use GPT to make it that much better, right? And I think that's where, like, a lot of the problems come in, because you don't even know if it's right. So, like, if you do use it, I'm not saying you should, but and this is not even school wise, just in general. I think it's a really good tool, and I think in the future we're going to be using it. I mean, they're already talking about it taking over like level 1 call centers with voice. It's crazy, but I would definitely just challenge anyone to make sure when you use something that, like, to not completely rely on it, right? To have your own thought process that can challenge it and that can think without it. You want it to be used as a tool, not as like a crutch.
That's a good statement right there. Not as a crutch.
Yeah.
So, talking about crutches, and investment and banking. So, I've heard there's a thing called capital raises, right?
Yeah.
So, if speaking as I'm a healthcare management major, right? How could I learn about capital raising just in general?
Yeah. So capital. So just think of capital as money, right?
Okay.
So businesses need money, so they want a capital raise. There's 2 ways to usually raise money.
Okay.
You have debt and you have equity. Equity is just ownership.
Hey, say that again, man. Say that again.
Capital is just money. So when a business is raising capital, they're just looking to receive money. And money, the way that businesses get capital, you fund capital 2 ways. Debt, which is just borrowing money and repaying it back with an interest rate.
Okay.
And then equity, which is, hey, I'll give you $1, but I get a piece of ownership in your company.
So is it not like, can you say it's like a stock, like your stockholder?
So, all right, let's say we have a capital raise, right? So you can have a debt capital raise, which where you have your debt holders, or you can have a equity capital raise. Equities are stocks, right? Public equities, public stocks. So let's say your company's worth like I don't know, like 500 million or whatever. You go
Damn, for 500 million.
I was like, I'm about to go get a new car. No. So yeah. So let's say it's worth 500 million. You come to an investment banker, say, hey, like I've been working hard. I want to kind of get some liquidity, right? Which is just meaning like liquidity is just how.
Like
Go ahead.
Man. What is liquidity?
Let him cook.
It's how much the business like. How much they? Oh my gosh! Don't go beyond this. Liquidity. How much your business is worth? No.
Close. I like to describe liquidity as like if I have like this shirt.
Okay.
How quickly can I sell this shirt? Right. Somewhat fast. Hey, I'll give it to you for $5. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, how quickly can you sell your house? Not as fast. Right. So your house is not that liquid. It's the ability to turn something into cash. Right. So. To get liquidity, to turn something into cash as a business owner, let's say you want to get liquidity, you're gonna IPO. That's when you get a stock market. So let's say you got 50 million, Skateboard Inc. You're like, you come to an investment bank, hey, I want some liquidity, I want some money, I want you to take me public, right? They'll say, okay, you're gonna run the numbers. All right, we'll get you at $10 a share. All right, so you sell the equity, your ownership in the business in exchange for cash. Right.
So, but is it like, so I know this thing like in investing and making, there's a thing called like price matching. Can you say it's kind of like that? Because I mean, well, they have a piece of your your business, correct?
Yeah.
And when you sell it, you get it back in cash, correct?
Right.
But is it guaranteed though? When you like
put it up to sell.
Yeah.
That's the job of the investment bank. So hopefully they get you enough buyers, right? Because if not, you're not going to do it. But if they do, then you IPO, which is like an initial public offering. So now you go from a private company to a public company. So if you IPO and I'm like, I want like Jalen's skateboard company. All right, I'm gonna pay. I want 10 shares, $10 per share. It's $100, right? Then you're going to get some proceedings from that, and that's your money, right? So big companies, you'll make a lot more money. You're like, all right, I just want to keep 3% ownership, like sell the rest.
Got you.
And now you're public, and now where everyone's in the stock market trading it. That's how it kind of works.
Okay. Yeah. All right, man. Hey, that was we're going to go to a brief little intermission.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a minute, and we'll get back to you. All right, man. We at the 30-minute mark.
30 minutes.
Thank you, everybody that's in here right now.
30 minutes. Oh. So, yeah.
Wait, I like that. I like
that clock.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice clock.
9:14.
All right, welcome back. We are off break. This is XTSR Towson Student Radio, and this is Visionary Collectives. I'm sorry to break that. That was a great pitch right there, talking about stocks and stock holds and all the finance
stuff.
But let's talk about you, man. Let's talk about you. So you've achieved so much at your young age, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How does one get that mindset?
Good question. I think part of me is just curious, right? So you're curious, you kind of want to try things. I think the curiosity will get you to think, and then you'll kind of figure out what you want to do from there. I would say, because I think when we talk about mindset, it's probably also positioning, right? And then surrounding. So for me, funny as it might sound, I try to make sure I'm influenced by different types of people. So one thing is I'll listen to business owners, and I don't really successful people. I don't really have any I don't have Elon Musk living with me, you know what I'm saying, something like that. But YouTube is a great source, right? You can go in there and I'll just follow these guys, right? And they'll just kind of talk about their day to day or their businesses, or like guys who are just very like into the business world, and that will just kind of give you knowledge, right? So I'll try to sometimes listen to like YouTube videos instead of music and stuff like that, which help me build perspective, build knowledge, and then in the long term, I guess that kind of helps you maneuver better. But it's all through experiences, right? So I guess just going out there, being curious, wanting to experience new things, and you'll figure it out one way or another, right? And that's kind of, I think that's where the work comes in. Like, it's easy to start anything, but if you can just try to finish it or do some progress, you'll be good. And yeah, just trying to grasp onto opportunities.
So I know through me, it was like a lot of hardships, right? Like I was like going through my own little things, like freshman year. I'm a sophomore now. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to grind. I'm trying to figure out where my place is in this world. But how did you not let it define you? Well, did you have any hardships actually?
Let me think. Nothing crazy. I never had anything crazy. So yeah, this is a good one because I think I know people who push, and they've definitely had some tough stuff. For me, I guess I'll walk it back to my freshman year. Well, actually, I might go back. So no real hardships. Like I would say I haven't been a person who's really gone through like trauma or anything. But what I do remember, and this is funny. Like my 8th grade algebra 2 class, like my teacher was like, all right, like look next to you. Half of these people aren't gonna be here by the end of the year. And my parents are like spazzing. You're like, bro, like this is like 8th grade, right? And you're like, yo, like what are you doing? So I hung on for like 3 semesters, and I had to drop. I had like a D, right? And then my sophomore year, I was in a GT Chem class, and his teacher was a little nutty. He's cool though. And that I was pretty upset from the last year, and I was like, all right, like I know what's required, like I'm gonna lock in. And I ended up getting a B. It was a hard class, and I think that was probably one of the first times I think I quote unquote locked in, right? Because I was like, I'm not gonna fail out of this. And then coming to college to school, my first probably not like a usual. Well, a lot of people commute, so I commuted. So my first year I commuted and was taking classes, and I worked the whole weekend. So I'd work for sales at Verizon, and then I would go to school on the weekdays. And that built a lot of character. I wasn't up here, so I probably didn't have as many distractions as you would your freshman year. I still had a group of friends. I still hung out. We still did some cool stuff, but I wasn't living up here. And from there, I lived up here my second year, and then that year was a little bit more stagnant, I would say. And I think I went back to commuting last year, right? And then that's when I like clicked it up. And I think honestly it was when I realized I was like, we gotta start pushing. I think it was my junior year. So we're getting to it. I think I finally got it, right? So junior year, that was the first time I really walked into TUIG. Actually, I think I made a post about this on my LinkedIn. Andrew, me and him like want to do practically the same thing. Okay. And that was very rare to find someone, because no one even knew what investment banking was. So knowing you wanted to do it was something I hadn't even found yet. And that group of people like in the club are phenomenal. All like business, kind of like me, right? Like thinking, like want to learn. And I think that really helped push me. Because when you see other people doing all this stuff, you're like, yo, like I gotta produce. You know what I mean? And I think that pushed me a lot. Like seeing that and being in that environment of all these high performers. And then from there, like just in that environment, it kind of pushes you. So I think it was a mix of that, and then also understanding that like this is my future, right? And maybe it isn't. I'm a person where I probably I like to put more weight on things than they really need. So like, all right, like worst case scenario, you don't get an internship, you'll probably be fine. I'm like, bro, you don't get an internship, like Mars is flying into Earth, you know what I'm saying? So, but like having that helped, right? Because I'm like, that's why I was like, all right, I gotta hit up like 600 people, you know what I mean? Because just like I had no other choice. And I think I think mental framing helps a lot. And I think for me, when I do mental framing, I frame things in a way where I need to have an upside. So I really like this quote from this guy called Alexander, and he basically talks about how you want to do something you want to do something so many times that it becomes unreasonable for you to fail, right? If you want to, like for example, if you want, like I want a job in investment banking, I said, okay, these people don't respond to me, right? So, like these people don't respond to me. So if I'm thinking logically, what is like a number in my head that like, all right, like if I hit up X amount of people, it's unreasonable to say that 10 won't hit me back, 1 maybe will give me, like an offer or something.
Okay.
It's not really how it went down, but but like that is I think that's the best filter, right? Oh, I wanted to start a business. All right, well, what is a business, and what do I need to do over and over again to succeed?
So they're like, kind of like questions. Are there like 3 main questions that you would kind of ask almost on to yourself?
Yeah, I when like in a process or
like when you're processing your thoughts.
Yeah, I get in general, or like I guess if you could be more specific, like processing thoughts.
When you're going to
like a goal.
When you're going for a goal.
Yeah.
What would be like the thoughts, the 3 main thoughts that are going through your head when you're about to achieve this goal?
Well, yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. So I think one would be what needs to be done. So like, but like you got to break it down. So like for a job.
Let's go for a job. Let's say I want to go into investment banking.
Right. Like what do I need for a job? Any job, right? It could be like, okay, I need to get the job. Okay, how do I get the job? So it's kind of like reverse engineering, right? How do I get the job? Well, I need to get an interview. How do I get an interview? Well, I applied the last 40, that didn't work, right? so okay, maybe I should try a different approach. So I think that thought is like trying to and you're not going to be right. But it doesn't usually matter if you're right. It just matters if you're going in the right direction. So, and reverse engineering an approach, and then making sure that you try to get some feedback, something measurable that tells you if you're doing good or not, right? For example, and I keep going back to like 40, like hardly any replies from job applications. All right, someone needs to change here. Like this is feedback that I'm not doing it right. If it's a business, like I'm not getting any customers. What am I doing wrong? I think viewing what you do with a critical lens and like a formula. And like taking that formula apart is a good way to figure out what you need to do to get to your goal. If that kind of breaks it down.
That completely breaks it down. And I also wanted to tell like everybody at TUIG, if y'all ever get the chance to go into their actual club and like learn from Andrew Poland or Alexander Burke or their new, is it a new president?
Yeah, Brandon. Not yet. He'll be there next semester or like next year. In the next year or so, he's designated to be president.
Just go. At least attend one meeting. Yeah. These guys move like a unit, man. Like so I went to a event last semester, right? It was skills to pay your bills.
Oh yeah.
All of them, all the executives at the front. All at the front, all paying attention, all asking questions. Like every single one of them had like, I'm telling you, they move like the military. Like it's crazy. But I was watching because I'm in the back, just like watching how they're like moving and how they're talking and how their body gestures towards the
speakers.
Yes, towards the speakers. Yo. Beautiful, man. That's beautiful. What they're doing over there.
I appreciate it.
If you ever get the chance, go. Just go. Just go to at least one meeting.
I appreciate that. I appreciate.
But like, how do you guys at TUIG? I know you're the vice president. Are you the vice president?
Yeah, I'm VP. Yeah.
So how do you kind of promote that? Is it like a sense of respect to oneself?
As far as like performing, or
like just how you guys like? What would be like 3 prompts that y'all go by?
Like mantras almost.
Because I don't know I don't know any other organization that's moving like a unit like that.
I honestly think it's because everyone there wants to learn, and it's all in business. Like we have a lot of people like I think are like extremely intelligent. Like we have a great portfolio manager, Max, treasurer, Corinna. Like assistant portfolio manager, his name is Alex too. But I think like everyone there wants to learn, right? So like for skills pay the bills, we were like it wasn't even a question. We're just like like we're gonna go, you know what I mean? Because they like the craft. So I think that's like for whatever you're looking to do, like find people. But so I'm about to say find people like that, but I hate when people say that. So let me rewind. Go to places, or like for college students specifically, because it's a lot easier for that. I don't know about the non-college student world, but like I guess find people for college students, just go to the clubs, right? Because people at the clubs are going to be somewhat interested in what that club's focus is, right? So because I don't like saying stuff about actionable items, so I don't. Oh, we'll find some people, but if you go to a club, it's highly likely you're going to find people that
like-minded,
right? That are like-minded or like something like you do. Maybe you won't, but I think that's a good way to do it. And I think that the people at TUIG, especially like the exec, they just like business stuff, right? And it kind of helps, and you play off of each other. And I'm sure there's other stuff they like there's other stuff I like. I like nutrition, weightlifting, but it helps to be in an environment. And just to kind of add on, when you're talking about the skills pay the bills, another thing I always do, and if anyone was in my class, you probably know this, is ask questions in your classes. That is one thing. You might be. I forgot the saying. There's something about being. It's always better to be the dumbest person in the room than the smartest person in the room.
Why do you say that?
Because then you're learning the most. Right. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm not taking any away.
Also, you just go to the next room.
Right.
Or like if you were the smartest, go to the next room.
Right. You can say that, but if you're in I would rather. It's better because I feel like sometimes you don't want to ask questions because you might be scared. Right, which is valid. Like you look stupid,
for sure.
right? But it's like if you can just put yourself in a frame of mind where you're willing to learn at the cost of yourself, maybe not looking the best, you're gonna learn a lot more. And teachers always say it, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. They always say, have the people have your question anyway, but it doesn't even have to be related to if there's just a curiosity. Like I would say, ask because one, we're paying for this.
Yeah.
Right. So. I'm not the biggest advocate. I mean, I do it in some of my classes, but like if it's a class you're interested in, sit there and pick the minds of the people who studied it. You might not agree with everything, but it's always good to be curious and challenge thought and try to put yourself in a position to learn, right? And I guess that's how the logic behind the saying of the quote unquote dumbest person in the room, right? If you're quote unquote the least intelligent person in the room, then you have the most to learn. If you do that in every room, it's going to stack up, and you're going to have a Rolodex of just learnings that you can flip through. Versus if you say, okay, I'm smart, I don't need you, I need to talk to you daily, you know what I'm saying? If you do that, you're not picking anything up. So over time, right, if you have someone who is, maybe they're super intelligent, but they're always like that, and they don't try to ask questions or anything like that because they think that's how they are. Over time, I might be dumber, but slowly kind of creep up, right? And
what's that graph? What's the graph?
You got a straight horizontal line, and then you might start down here, but you kind of you slowly creep up, right? And if you keep learning, it stacks, and before you know, you have a load of cool random information.
So talking about learning, so I know you've done obviously a lot of learning here at Towson. So, but you also have been having your eye on certifications, right?
Yeah.
So, the first one I seen was the CompTIA, right? The network.
Yeah, the Network Plus. Yeah.
Can you explain how you got that to the visionaries and kind of why you sought out for this?
Yeah, certification. Yeah. So, if you're in computer science, you probably know what it is. It's basically CompTIA Network Plus. So for computer networking, goes over routers, how is this cabling set up, tech support, a little bit of security. My dad is in something closer to what would be the tech industry.
Okay.
Right, and my parents they probably weren't a fan of business, or which makes sense, right? They're tech's where it's going. You should look at some tech stuff. And I ended up taking a class at HTC and just took the certification. Right, and I was meant to go network and then security, which is the next level up, which tech people know, but it's the next level up. But I ended up going with business, so it was kind of influenced by my parents. Now they didn't really help me study at all, so that was me in the class, and I was this is interesting stuff. It's really cool, right? Because I can look at the world with a more computer lens. Okay, I know that this firewall is connected here. I know the security standard on your router. And it also is really interesting because you start to understand the internet and all how nothing is really that secure. You know what I mean? someone's
the servers
phone,
and the web browsers.
Right, especially when we're talking about like wireless internet and like your router. You can, so someone can quite literally, like the iPad, I don't know, you guys can see it, but the iPad, right? Like, disconnect your iPad from the Wi-Fi, set up a twin network, which is like, it says like Towson Secure or whatever. You reconnect to it, but it's really like it's going through them. So when you go to log in, they take all your information, and now they have your information. It's a crazy world, right? So it's like, for the most part, if someone really wanted to hack something, they could. Now most people aren't going to do that because like that's just kind of menacing, right? But it's cool to kind of get a different lens on the world from the computer network side, and it kind of also helps me build out that multi-skill personality, right? Because going into finance, but in finance I want to do tech specifically, right? So it kind of helped with that as well.
Okay, and so would you say that you're going for any at the moment that's for finance specifically? Like
Sorry, say one more time.
Like any certifications?
So I mean, I've looked at, and I'm thinking very heavily on the CFA, which is
that's really hard.
Yeah, certified. I want to see. I hope it's financial analyst. If not,
I think it's
cut.
I know the CPA.
Yeah, CPA. Yeah, certified public accountant. So I'm thinking about the CFA, which is basically just more on like valuation. It's not just valuation. It's a lot of stuff to do with like portfolio management. A portfolio just being like a group of stocks, a group of equities, like we were talking about before, that are managed by one person. I think looking at that, and then there's just some like legal certifications most people in my field have to get. There's something called like the S.C.E, which is the security. I think it's a little bit of a funky name. So I think it's like securities industrial something. It's a little funky, but it's basically just like a basic finance exam certification, and then I will also, as like someone in finance, have to get I think a Series 79 and Series 60 something. But mostly looking at the CFA right now.
Okay, and so I know you have another one also. It's the Microsoft Office Specialist Master certification. So I'm kind of curious on why you got that one.
Yeah,
like why you go for that?
Yeah, so that one, funny enough, really comes from like my experience with the school, right? Because, and I think this is honestly, this is probably one of the best classes, or not best, but most impactful classes, was the EBTM series.
I heard that everybody hates this class. I don't know what it is, but everybody hates this class.
EBTM 1, EBTM 2. Yeah, so it's basically it's literally a straight Excel class. Ooh. Like, it's literally, it's just spreadsheets. They give you instructions, format this, align. Like, that's all it is, right? So the first EBTM 1, you do this. At the end, you need to get like a 70 or higher. You have a test. So you have like a time test to complete all these Excel executions, and you get the certification. And then the second one is a little bit more complicated, like more complicated Excel functions, but there's no test at the end. So I got it through school. Very beneficial, and I think I've heard from a lot of people, like a lot of fields, not even just finance, like you're going with a lot of Excel stuff, so it's really good for that, and especially my field, we're talking about valuation and stuff. Those guys like to whip through the Excel sheet, so it's good to have that skill, and it's very, very prevalent, especially to the business world.
So taking those two and combine and going to the tech, right?
Yeah.
How do those two combine? Or how do they?
Right. So in investment, like for example, in investment banking.
Okay.
You're working with businesses, right? But what type of businesses, right? There's so many different fields, agriculture. So for example, I can take a basic one. So something like a bank versus let's say like Bank of America versus Spotify. Right?
Okay.
Right?
But those are two different platforms, like way...
Right. But that's the point, right? Okay. Is that when you go into finance, especially like dealing with clients and businesses, those are two different businesses, like you said, right? So at some point, usually, not all the time, but sometimes you can kind of scale within an industry, right? Because if I'm like, and this happens usually like more senior level, right? But if I'm like a VP, it's hard for me to know a lot about everything, right? How am I going to know all this, the bank industry, all this about the tech industry, all this about the agricultural industry?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what they do is they scale down. Okay, you're in charge of tech. You're in charge of agriculture.
So divisions.
Right, divisions, right? And so at some point, being very deep, I understand networks, right? I understand Excel, which is kind of like a basic thing for banking and finance. I can now build on that, right, and create kind of like a bigger, like, personal moat, right? Oh, he knows not just like business stuff. Oh, he also knows tech stuff. Like, cool. That makes you more marketable, right? So this guy, one of the guys, he also talks about like skill stacking, right? So okay, if I have a finance major, that's cool. If I have a comp sci major, that's cool. But a finance comp sci major, I'm not a comp sci major. Just like I'm like using it as an example, right? Like having two skills means you're more valuable, right? Because as long as they're somewhat related, right? Because now this guy, finance comp sci major, might know what I don't, right? They might understand. Oh wait, that's C++. Like you do it like this, right? Which is like what makes like skill stacking so valuable. But able to try to kind of skill stack, right, in a way. And hopefully that'll play out and make you more of a valuable person in the workplace.
But do you feel like having all those skills, but I've heard like this, like when you really get into the workforce, right?
Yeah.
That's when you really learn.
Facts. I completely agree. That's just to market you. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's because
I hear get your certification, obviously to market yourself. But when you really actually start getting into your actual profession, they actually teach you basically everything how to actually do the job. Yeah,
they are. Exactly. It's literally just to get you in the door. A lot of the stuff from school is not going to be applicable to your full-time job. So it's kind of I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of a problem. But it's just kind of how it goes, right? Like you learn stuff in school that you need to know. Maybe some of it you don't need to know, but it's just helpful for you in general. But I think that, they're going to teach you most of it. They're going to teach you most of it. Yeah.
All right, so lastly, we're going to talk about this. So lastly, we got, so let's talk about your hobbies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you love working out, right?
Yeah. So I got the gym last week.
Yeah. So, kind of, how does that go into? I guess, like when you're lifting weights, right? I don't even know how to scale this question. I'm trying to think. Working out. So, do you feel like working out correlates to how your coursework goes? Like how when you're in school?
Yeah.
Like, does lifting impact you in school? Like, does it empower you to like do good?
Yeah. I think lifting was probably the first thing I ever had like an actual discipline for.
Okay.
So I think because I think I've been lifting probably since like senior year of high school.
Do you do calisthenics? No.
Nah, bro. I can't do the walk-in handstand. Honestly, not even the most powerlifter. Like just kind of for hypertrophy and health. Honestly, okay. I try to do some power movement, so like your benches, like your like stuff that like you don't want to just be like lifting like 15 pounds. Like, dude, I'm getting big, bro. but I just like lifting, and I like honestly like it's nice to have a little bit of muscle on you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nice to have that. So that's how it started though, and also I went from like I think 180. I'm like 210 right now. So it's worked. Like I've got a lot of weight, but I started with that regiment, and that was the first time I kind of had discipline. And I think now it's just kind of like almost like a metronome, like a beat. Like it's not like it's like a reminder that my schedule's doing good. Like I'm lining up, I'm lifting. I will say that when I get busy, like it probably is a de-stressor, and I probably don't realize it, but I'll like cut it down. So like over summer, like before I used to work out 5 days a week. Over summer, I switched to a 4-day like full body workout split, just because I need more time for other stuff.
For sure.
But I guess it does impact. I don't think it really impacts my grades too much. Now I will say, like, if it's been a while and I haven't lifted, I start to get itchy.
All right, what about your mental then?
Right.
Like, does it impact your mental?
Right. I guess that's what I mean by itchy. It's just like the worst way to describe it. But like, mentally, I feel like I need to go do something. Now, my mental, I would say no, but if I'm thinking about this, all right, if I went for a month without working out, I would be, I don't know. And so it probably doesn't impact my mental. I like it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good way to remind myself that I'm able to push myself. It's a good reminder, right? When you can go into the gym and like beat your body up, you're like, okay, like, all right, I'm still like, I'm still able to push myself, which is good. It's a good constant reminder that I'm still mentally sharp. So that's probably, I think, how it affects my mental.
Do you run? Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm getting back into running. I had Achilles tendonitis. So, yeah, my Achilles got inflamed. It was not the funnest thing. But we're back to, I think I might run today. But yeah, I was never a big runner before, but I'm like, I like to run for the cardio, right? Like your heart's a muscle too, right? You don't want to neglect that. So, yeah, we're getting back into running, which I'm excited about.
All right, man. Hey, you heard it here, Alexander Burke. Thank you so much, for coming on Visionary Collectives. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and listening to his story. And, hey, I'll see you in the next one, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
All right.